What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about, including money, investing, the stock market, stimulus check update, and the fourth stimulus package updates. If you're new to our YouTube channel, make sure to click the subscribe button down below right now, as it's completely free to do so. And remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also, thanks so much for hitting the like button for us down below. We got a lot to talk about here today. President Biden has now extended new stimulus measures for over 40 million Americans, which is actually a lot of money for everybody that this affects. And this will be going on for multiple months now. We'll be going over the details of that. And new stimulus measures announced for a lot of people in a major city as well. We got a lot to talk about here in this video. So let's jump right in because, as always, there's a lot going on here. Here we go. Okay, first up, President Biden has now officially extended the student loan payment pause or student loan freeze now through the end of August. This was going to expire at the end of April. April 30th would have been the last day that the payment freeze would have been frozen, and May 1st, over 40 million people would have had to start repaying their federal student loans on May 1st. And President Biden has now extended the student loan payment pause. Yeah, you can see right here in black and white, President Biden yesterday extended the pandemic moratorium on federal loan student payments and interest accrual through August 31st, ending just 3 months before the midterm elections. Remember, this originally started back in 2020 under the decree by former President Donald Trump and has now been going for over 2 years. The president announced the extension until August 31st in a statement, citing the still ongoing recovery from the pandemic. The president says, quote, "To enable Americans to continue to get back on their feet after two of the hardest years this nation has ever faced, my administration is extending the pause on federal student loan repayments through August 31st, 2022. That additional time will assist borrowers in achieving greater financial security and support the Department of Education's efforts to continue improving student loan programs," Biden says. The freeze was initially set to lapse on May 1st, per an extension signed by Biden in December. And the White House was under pressure by nearly 100 Democrats across both chambers to extend it. Loan payments were first put on hold in March of 2020 under former President Donald Trump, and the freeze has now been extended 5 different times. Yeah, Trump's order froze the accrual of interest on federal student loans and payments, effectively freezing $1.6 trillion in debt owed by more than 40 million Americans, which is about 1 in 6 adults. Biden said on Wednesday that the economy was barely growing when he first continued the pause a little over a year ago in January 2021, and says now America is stronger than we were a year ago. He says, however, I recognize in recently extending the pandemic national emergency, we are still recovering from the pandemic and the unprecedented economic disruption it caused. If loan payments were to resume on schedule in May, analysis of recent data from the Federal Reserve suggests that millions of student loan borrowers would face significant economic hardship, and delinquencies and defaults could threaten Americans' financial stability. Biden said that in September, when payments start again, the Department of Education will offer additional flexibilities and support all borrowers. and that the Department of Education is committed to ensuring that student loan borrowers have a smooth transition back to repayment. Yeah, the average student loan payments is around $400 per month, which is almost $5,000 a year. That is a lot of money. You think about an average $5,000 a year payment for an average person. Think about how much money that is. The average person does not have an extra $5,000 per year lying around. So that's the really big question here. And remember, the president has said that he would be willing, and he campaigned on forgiving up to $10,000 of student loans. He has not done this yet. They did forgive $11.5 billion of student loans last year, mostly for students with disabilities, or not students, but, well, former students, people that have already, I guess some people could be current students, I guess. But people with student loans, I should say. Um, People with student loans that have disabilities, people that were in the public service student loan forgiveness programs, and people that their schools closed on them or defrauded on them, were mostly the people. And but President Biden has said in the past that he would be willing to forgive up to $10,000 in student loans for everybody that has student loans. But other Democrats, like Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, are pushing him to do $50,000 of student loan forgiveness. And then there's a lot of other Democrats, like Senator Bernie Sanders, that says other types of debt, like medical debt forgiveness, and even other types of debt, like credit card debt forgiveness, should be forgiven as well because, of the hardships that our Americans are facing. So I will keep you up to date on that as well here on our YouTube channel. Next up, the president, the United States, and the rest of the world is imposing new sanctions on Russia and Putin and other Russians because of the slayings in what happened in the Ukrainian city of Bucha on civilians. Here's which is it's an absolute atrocity. Here's what the president has to say here. And things have just really taken a turn for the worse in Ukraine. Check this out.
I'd like to have to briefly address the horrifying reports of the atrocities taking place in Ukraine and the steps the United States is taking to respond in close coordination with our allies and our partners. And I'm sure you've seen the pictures from Bucha and just outside of Kyiv. Bodies left in streets as Russian troops withdrew. Some shot in the back of the head with their hands tied behind their backs. Civilians executed in cold blood. Bodies dumped into mass graves. A sense of brutality and inhumanity left for all the world to see unapologetically. There's nothing less happening than major war crimes. Responsible nations have to come together to hold these perpetrators accountable. And together with our allies and our partners, we're going to keep raising the economic cost and ratchet up the pain for Putin and further increase Russia's economic isolation. Folks, the steps we've already taken are predicted to shrink Russia's gross domestic product by double digits this year alone. Just in 1 year, our sanctions are likely to wipe out the last 15 years of Russia's economic gains. And because we've cut Russia off from importing technologies like semiconductors and encryption security and critical components of quantum technology that they need to compete in the 21st century, we're going to stifle Russia's ability and its economy to grow for years to come. Folks, this is the United States, and we're taking additional steps in lockstep with our allies and partners to raise the economic pressure on Putin. First, the the United States will impose full blocking sanctions on Sberbank, by far the largest financial institution in Russia, and Alfa Bank, its largest private bank. We're locking down any accounts, any funds that those banks hold in the United States. They'll not be able to touch any of their money. They'll not be able to do any business here. And second, I'm going to sign an executive order that's going to ban any new U.S. investment in Russia. More than 600 private sector companies.
Yeah, so you heard him there. They're trying to do everything they can, short of going to war personally with Russia. And you know, one wonders if that might happen in the future. And you kind of look at the similarities if you ever watch any History Channel shows or anything like that about what happened with World War II and Hitler. The similarities are very, very similar. Very, very similar on what Hitler did, just taking over country by country, and you know, the propaganda of what Hitler did, and it wasn't us, it wasn't us, and how they wanted to take over all these different regions. And if you actually look at what happened with Hitler, they actually made a pact with Stalin and Russia, and then you know what they did? Then they actually went to invade Russia and Stalin. I actually think that was one of their biggest missteps, because, you know, Russia and Stalin had. It's funny because now it is Russia versus, and Germany is now part of NATO, so it's actually completely reversed now. Um, but Russia actually committed millions and millions of people against Hitler, and now Germany is part of NATO. It's completely reversed now. Um, but if Hitler wouldn't have done that, uh, Russia would have been on their side. They were allies. And instead, Hitler decided, no, we're going to go and commit millions of people of their army to go over and betray their alliance and try to take over Russia. And Stalin said, absolutely not. We're going to commit every person we can to not let this happen. And that just goes to show you the kind of mindset that some of these guys have to literally just lie every which way. And we've seen that from Putin, where he says, "Oh, we're not going to invade. We're not going to invade. We're pulling our troops back," and literally a day later they go invade. And it's just you see a lot of similarities here. A lot of similarities here. And I mean, literally, the Russians withdraw from Bucha, and a day later, we find all this, and then the Russians say, "Oh no, it wasn't us. It wasn't us." And you find the evidence of these bodies have been just laying there for they think even weeks, because you can kind of tell how long they've been there. It's just really, really sad, really. And it kind of goes into the thinking of Putin and the army there. They don't care. They're willing to do anything. And when someone's willing to do anything, how do you stop somebody like that? And that kind of goes back to the similarities of World War II. How do you stop Hitler? And that kind of makes you think, how do you stop this one from going on? That's the kind of question we have to ask ourselves now. How long is this going to go on? Yeah. The problem here is that Putin has all these nukes, thousands of them. So that's it's a much more complex problem for the world. For the world. Yeah, and you could see here some new news here. The GOP, the Republicans, GOP stands for Grand Old Party. an old nickname for the Republican Party, blocks the Senate virus relief aid bill and demands a vote on immigration instead. They had originally announced that they had come to a deal. The Republican Party is being led by Mitt Romney in this case. Um, and now they have, well, here's the details. Republicans have blocked a Democratic attempt to begin the Senate debate on a $10 billion pandemic compromise. They both parties had a previously, just 24 hours ago, announced that they had a deal. And now the deal is kind of falling apart, at least for a little bit. Pressing to entangle the bipartisan package with an election year showdown over immigration restrictions that poses a politically uncomfortable fight for Democrats. So yeah, the Republicans and Democrats are just are already fighting over a lot of different things. A day after Democrat and Republican bargainers reached an agreement on providing the money for treatments, vaccine, and testing, a Democratic move to push the measure past the procedural hurdle failed after they just reached a deal. I know you can't make this stuff up. And it failed 52 to 47 Tuesday night, late last night. All 50 Republicans opposed the move, leaving Democrats 13 votes short of the 60 they needed to prevail. Hours earlier, Republicans said they would withhold crucial support for the measure unless Democrats agreed to vote on an amendment preventing President Biden from lifting Trump-era curbs on migrants entering the U.S., with Biden polling poorly on his handling of immigration and Democrats divided on the issue. Republicans see a focus on migrants as a fertile line of attack. Yeah. Quote, I think there will have to be an amendment preserving the immigration restrictions in order to move the bill, bolstering federal pandemic efforts, said Mitch McConnell. At least 10 Republican votes will be needed in the 50-50 Senate for the measure to reach the 60 votes to have approval. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says this is a potentially devastating vote for every single American who is worried about the possibility of a new variant rearing its nasty head within the next few months. Also, Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot has proposed gift cards to help residents pay for gas. This is on for a major city of Chicago. So that we're actually seeing some stimulus measures on the city level for at least a huge major city of Chicago. Here's the details on this. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is proposing giving residents public transit cards and gift cards for gas to help ease the cost of increasing fuel prices. Illinois residents are paying an average of $4.46 at the pump compared to the national average of $4.23. Now, she says, now as inflation steadily rises and the cost of gas continues to soar, our disadvantaged residents are carrying a significant financial burden. The city program Chicago Moves would cost around $12.5 million. Of that, $7.5 million would go towards 50,000 prepaid gas cards worth $150 each. And $5 million would go towards 100,000 transit cards worth $50 each. So, yeah, 50,000 prepaid gas cards worth $150 each, and 5 million cards would be 5 million would be 100,000. I would say $5 million would go towards 100,000 transit cards worth $50 each. Okay. The prepaid cards can only be used at Chicago gas stations. They would be given out based on a lottery system. A lottery system. Quote, beginning in May, cards will be distributed in 5 successive monthly waves of 10,000 residents, the mayor's office said. To be eligible for the gas cards, applicants must be a Chicago resident, at least 18 years old, have a current and valid city sticker, and have a household income at or below 140% of the city's median income. For example, the max income for a single person is 91,000. So that's actually pretty high, but remember the city of Chicago is a very expensive city. So I mean, I'm sure, just a studio apartment there is sky high. It's just Chicago. It's just like New York or LA, right? It's extremely expensive to live in Chicago. It's not like you can, make $10 an hour, afford an apartment there. The transit cards will be allocated based on geographic data and usage. Low income neighborhoods in which residents use the Chicago Transit Authority more often will be prioritized. I don't know how they're going to figure all this data out, but they're going to do it. The CTA remains the most affordable and convenient way to get around the city, and we work hard every day to provide the essential service so many Chicagoans rely on. To be eligible for the transit card, applicants must be a Chicago resident and have a household at or below 140% of the city's median income. Applications open on April 27th. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts on that. Also, in today's episode of You Can't Make This Stuff Up, the state of Florida had some major hail here just the other day. Check this footage out. It was absolutely crazy. Let me know if you dealt with this or if you had any friends or family members deal with this. It was enormous. Check this out.
People are picking up the pieces this morning after violent storms tore across the South, killing at least 2 people and leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. In South Carolina, there were reports of tornadoes in Allendale and Bamberg counties, which is about 70 miles north of Savannah. Damage stretched for miles. At least 3 people were hurt. Farther north in the town of Manning, storms flooded a Walmart and flipped cars in the parking lot.
Tornado right there! Take cover!
In Georgia, an ominous scene as a large tornado looms over Pembroke, about 30 miles west of Savannah. The storms ripped the roof off Bryan County Courthouse and shredded homes in nearby neighborhoods. Authorities say 1 person was killed, several others injured. A man in East Texas was also killed when a tree toppled onto his home. In Alabama, trees were uprooted and power lines down in Montgomery County. Officials say several homes were damaged. In Mississippi, heavy rain turned streets into rivers in Hattiesburg. And the worries aren't over yet. More storms are on tap for the South again today.
The rain stopped now, but look at our windows, dude.
What the is hailing outside? What is going on? Calm down. It'll be fine. Why is it hailing? God damn. What the Holy What? Oh my God. Don't come back. Shoot. You stay here.
Yeah, so you can see here multiple different states had tornadoes, storms, hail. A lot of states were affected. So my thoughts and prayers go out to everybody that was affected and had property damage or anything along those lines. So yeah, let me know down in the comments if you were affected, if you lost power or anything along those lines. And call your insurance companies and yeah, hopefully you get that fixed. And I will keep you up to date here with everything. Make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel if you haven't yet. I will keep you up to date with everything. Remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's completely free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can click here to watch my newest video next. And you can click here to see my new video about April 15th, which is a major deadline date for millions of people with stimulus that you need to know about. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.